It's Thursday, June 28th, and time for your Barbados Today morning news update. Thanks for joining us. I'm Fernella Wedderburn. The Caribbean Court of Justice gets the thumbs up from a number of attorneys in Barbados for abolishing the mandatory death penalty. The ruling was handed down yesterday during the appeal cases of Barbadian murder convicts Jabari Sensimina Nerve and Dwayne Omar Severin, who had been sentenced to hang. The court ruled that a section of the Offences Against the Person Act was unconstitutional because it provided for an automatic death sentence. Queen's Counsel Ralph Thorne welcomed the decision, saying the law treated all convicted murderers in the same way, despite the circumstances of their cases, while prominent attorney Andrew Pilgrim QC says the decision was long overdue.
But effectively, we stopped hanging in 1984, okay? Now, the court was asked the question, is it appropriate to have the mandatory death penalty, which means every person found guilty of murder, before you mitigate, or rather without any mitigation, anybody saying, well, this person was only 19 years old, they lived whatever type of life they lived or whatever, there were certain circumstances in which you could suggest there was some provocation. The court don't get to consider those things as the law stood before today. In other words, once you are convicted of murder, automatically the sentence was a death sentence. The law is now changed to say that if you are convicted of murder, there is a sentencing phase in which the court will get to hear about, you will get, for example, a pre-sentencing report on the individual. They will get to hear from counsel for the defense and counsel for the prosecution what is the appropriate sentence in the unique circumstances of this offense and of this offender, as opposed to this thing that everybody get painted with the same brush.
In other news, the former housing minister says Barbadians should not be surprised that his successor, George Payne, is shaking things up at the National Housing Corporation. Dennis Kelman's comments comes on the heels of this week's sacking of 3 NHC workers, including General Manager Lynette Napoleon Young. The former minister stayed clear of criticizing the government over the firings, suggesting instead that his successor was merely providing the change that Barbadians voted for.
The minister has a job to do, and he has demanded. The public has given him the mandate. What he does is well done. Well, it's not here for me to describe anybody. Okay. The time for me describing has been over. For me to pass judgment, that's a matter for the new minister. He has to know what he is doing and what he wants to do.
The dreaded National Social Responsibility Levy will be a thing of the past come Sunday. And President of the Small Business Association, Dean Straker, tells Barbados Today consumers should see a reduction in prices within the next month or two from its members. This as operators breathe a sigh of relief that government made good on a campaign promise to repeal the dreaded levy.
We are ecstatic that the NSRL has been removed for more reasons than one. Obviously, the fact that it can reduce the pricing to shoppers, to the consumers, but also that it is a lot less administrative work on the business enterprises and small businesses. Some people are going to be able to reduce their prices almost immediately, and others are going to have to wait for their stock to be depleted because they already had to pay the NSRL on it before the increase. Also, you know, as I said, pricing, when you have so many items on your shelves, to start repricing again, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of administrative work. Yeah. But I would think that for the most part, within a month to two, everybody would have been able to get their prices pre-NSRL.
Meantime, a top trade unionist has welcomed the repeal of the tax. However, General Secretary of the Barbados Workers' Union, Senator Toni Moore, says she is concerned about the issue of price control when the repeal takes effect on July 1. She made the comments during yesterday's debate of the National Social Responsibility Levy Repeal Bill 2018.
I share the concern that many have regarding how in a repeal situation, prices will be controlled in a manner that would not run counter to what the repeal of the NSRL suggests. I would want to be a bit provocative in the first instance by suggesting to those business places who were very eager and who ran immediately to hike the prices before the imposition was dropped, I would think that the responsible thing to do by those business places would not be to consider that there is a 2 or 3 month provision, but that they should be just as eager to drop the prices immediately now that the levy is going to be repealed.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
On the regional scene, the Barrier Reef in Belize, which has been described as the most remarkable reef in the West Indies, is off the endangered list. UNESCO removed the reef from its list of endangered World Heritage Sites after 9 years on the basis that government had taken visionary steps to preserve it. The World Heritage Body has, however, urged Belize to put safeguards in place to protect the coral reef. The Belize Barrier Reef is the second largest in the world after Australia's Great Barrier Reef. It was added to the World Heritage Sites in 1996, but UNESCO said it was endangered in 2009 following plans by the Belize government to allow oil exploration in nearby waters. And finally, the second oldest judge in the 9-member United States Supreme Court is set to retire. 81-year-old Justice Anthony Kennedy will leave office on July 31. And according to reports, his retirement gives President Donald Trump a chance to cement a conservative majority in the country's top court. We get more in this report from Reuters TV.
I just want to thank Justice Kennedy for the years of tremendous service.
Anthony Kennedy, the ultimate swing vote on the Supreme Court, announced his retirement on Wednesday, setting off a high-stakes battle that could shape the legal landscape for decades to come. Kennedy telling President Donald Trump that he plans to step down after 3 decades on the nation's highest court, at the center of pivotal decisions that legalized gay marriage and loosened political spending laws. I'm Andy Sullivan in Washington, where Trump suddenly has an opportunity to shift the United States sharply to the right by replacing Kennedy with a more consistent conservative, somebody along the lines of Neil Gorsuch, who has ruled steadily in Trump's favor since joining the court last year. Trump saying at the White House that he's going to begin his search immediately, drawing from a list of 25 candidates, all of them with a conservative track record and all of them decades younger than the 81-year-old Kennedy.
We have a very excellent list of great talented, highly educated, highly intelligent.
And on that note, we come to the end of our news update, but for the very latest, visit our website at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, and like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media in bus terminals, as well as Screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. And you can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM. I'm Fernella Wedderburn. Do have a wonderful day.